One Grate Conversation, a place where we strive to become whole and complete personally and professionally by bringing great minds together and giving you, the listener, the authentic conversation you crave, one great guest at a time. Welcome back to One Grate Conversation. Recently, we spoke with Dr. Dinesh Palipana, who is a spinal cord injury doctor at Griffith University Hospital on the Gold Coast in Australia. We spoke a lot about gratitude, resilience, and seeing opportunity in challenges and what can show up for us that's actually meant to be. Something that would hold many people back, a spinal cord injury, didn't stop Dr. Dinesh from achieving many, many great things in his journey so far. He is on a mission to help people walk again who have suffered spinal cord injuries as well. So I really deeply feel that you will gain a lot of insights from this episode, much like I have. Hope you enjoy. Thank you, Dinesh, for coming onto the podcast. I'm super, super appreciative from the moment that I saw you speak at one of those breakfasts with work a couple of years ago. And then you came on to our team event to be a guest speaker in 2022, actually, start of January 2022. So I was on maternity leave. But now you've said yes to come onto the podcast, and yeah, it means so much to us.
Thanks for having me. And 2022, I can't believe that. Time flies.
What does the phrase, "we are the creators of our reality," mean to you? It's something that we talk about quite often here.
Well, when I had a car accident, which is what caused the spinal cord injury and the reason I use a wheelchair today, I spent 8 months in the hospital. One of my friends came and she hung up the poem Invictus by my bedside. So she clipped it to the curtain, and I used to read that poem every day and every night. But Invictus, the word means undefeated or invincible. And towards the end of the poem, I think there are 2 key sentences, which is amazing. And it says that I am the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. So what you just said, I think it has so many meanings, and I think there are so many things that feed into it and come out of it. Because, you know, if we look at the back of that, we only really get one shot at life, and life is happening right now, and every moment we have, and then it's gone. And someone told me once that this is not a dress rehearsal, like this is a real thing.
So true. Yeah.
So it's important that we see life that way, that it's precious, that it's fleeting, that we have to make the most of the moments now. And so when we look at it like that, I think it becomes important to realize that, hey, you know, I need to make this mine. Because if we let time go by and then one day we're looking back, we can't have regrets, because then it's done. Can't change what happened. So we get one shot at life. We don't want to have regrets, which means really you need to make life whatever you want it. And you can. Like this is ours to create. We can make this into anything. And I suppose on top of those 2 things, the one thing I also realized is that the world is a reflection of what we are within. So one of the most beautiful things I've ever read is in a book called The Diamond Cutter. And in that book, this monk writes that our experiences in this world are like a diamond, and the moments that we get and the things that we have. So when you take a diamond out of the ground, it's just a rock, and it's not that pretty, and it can be dirty. You may not even think it has much value, but if you give it to a skilled diamond cutter, they can cut it in just the right shape, where if you hold it up in a room with light, the rainbow comes out of it, and it sparkles, and it's beautiful, and it's valuable. So it says that our experiences in this life are like that too, and we can cut it into however we want. And that applies to the hard situations, that applies to the good situations. It just depends on how you frame it. You can turn this life into whatever you want just by the way you view it.
For
and
sure.
you have to, because life's short.
Yes. And I think if we ended the episode there, my goodness, you would have already given so much to our listeners. You really are the perfect example of making the most of life, no matter what gets put in your path. So, once again, I'm super, super grateful that you've come on to talk about the things that we're going to be going through here, because there's no better person for it. So thank you. So at our most recent event, we have a mid-year event where we sort of regroup and go through new themes and that sort of thing. And we spoke again. This isn't something new that we've spoken about, but we spoke again because it was appropriate. The old paradigm versus the new paradigm. And the new paradigm is where we don't we don't blame others. We don't play victim or persecutor. How much do you know or implement of the new paradigm into your daily life? A lot, probably.
Yeah. So it is critical that, well, for me, I can speak for myself, and I want to be responsible for my life and my thoughts, and I want to take responsibility for the things that happen. So, and I think some of that comes into our locus of control as well, because we should only really be concerned with the things that we can control. So when we blame something on others, or when we look at external things, I think we take away our control of things, and we become helpless, and we become a victim. And we can't really control what other people do. We can't really control what the weather does. We can't really do anything like that, right? And I think it's a great thing to take some of those things and flip it over, and to see it as an opportunity. So I try to just take responsibility for myself, and to things that might happen, I try to frame it in a way where I have control to turn into something good or beautiful. And when we think about being a victim, for example, like there are so many bits and pieces to this, but I always think that there are billions of people on this planet who are worse off than me. I went to school. I grew up in Sri Lanka. I went to school with really, really poor kids who don't have much. They don't have homes. They don't have shoes. And they don't even have a future, really. So when we think about it like that, like we're pretty lucky, right? And how can I be a victim? I don't think. I'm still very lucky. And so if you can take stock of the things you can be grateful for, and if you take the small things that you can have gratitude for every day, and if you find joy in the small things, I think that thing about being a victim immediately goes away.
Yeah. And I think I truly think, sitting here and listening to this, it's beautiful that something so tremendously big that's happened to you, you still find a way to reflect on other people's experiences and find something to be grateful for in your life now. So much can be said about that how could you, in contrast, how could you be ungrateful for, or be a victim when someone like yourself can find so much beauty?
We wouldn't be having this conversation if it didn't happen, right? So, I have so much to be grateful for. Like, I have heaps to be grateful for. I get to choose what I eat, and tonight I'm going to choose what I have for dinner. I get to choose what I wear. I have clothes. There are so many things, right? And it's a beautiful day outside.
That's it. When you really start looking. Yeah, when you really start looking, there is so much. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And it's what you choose to focus on that will keep showing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a choice there for sure. And I think that definitely leads into our next question, which I'd love for you to talk more about. So something that I really find interesting about your journey is that you wholly accept your path and speak about it with love. How did you manage this? Because I think a lot of people would operate from a space of fear.
That's a great question. I think anyone's ever asked me that.
Surely.
Again, it's just about perspective. So I have a spinal cord injury, and in the 1920s or 1910s, if someone had an injury like mine, I think the life expectancy was about 30 days, because we just didn't have the medical care.
My goodness.
And we didn't have the technology, and we didn't have the know-how on how to keep someone with a spinal cord injury alive. But in some parts of the world today, this is still the case, because they don't have access to medical care, they don't have access to equipment, they don't have access to all that stuff. So there would be a person like me on the other side of the world who has this same injury, but they won't survive, and they certainly won't have the opportunities that I do. So that perspective, it gives me, it just reminds me to stay grounded and to think about the things that I do have. And I don't know, like when this accident first happened to me, I would have done anything to take it back.
Okay.
I would have done anything to turn back the clock. I would have done anything not to have the accident. But as the years have gone by, I have gained so much, and I have changed, and I've grown as a person, and I've learned things, and I've got people in my life that I really value, and have had experiences that I never would have had it not happened to this. So it hasn't been easy, but it's, today I see it as something that's happened for me, and that so many good things have come out of it. So that's just how I see this hardship. And I think it's just made me a better person, hopefully.
It's interesting that you say that "for me" piece, because that's something that we use to look at things that show up, whether they be opportunities or challenges or whatever it is. I hear that language around here quite often. When something happens, it's like, okay, why is this happening for me? And then when you start looking at it that way, you see it differently, don't you? Yeah.
There's this book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
And he writes this parable in it where a king puts this huge rock on a road back in the olden days. And it was the only road into town, and he hides a treasure under it. So all these people are coming by, and they're like, oh, can't get into town. Some might turn around, some might try to find a way around the rock. But then I think one person ended up, I don't remember this exactly, but someone moved the rock and found the treasure underneath. And what he says, that sometimes the obstacle is the way. So the whole book is about how obstacles are opportunities, and if we are courageous enough to face them in the right way, we will find treasure in them, I suppose.
That makes such sense. Like when you think about if something keeps showing up and you keep either burying your head or turning around or finding ways to avoid it, it's going to keep showing up until you do something about it. And you learn from it, right? So if it's to do with finances or health or whatever the topic is, you actually learn something through that experience that you might not have known before unless you went through it. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that book insight. You've already shared 2 now. You're like a library of information. I love it because it gives me things then to put in the description for our listeners to reference after the episode.
There we go.
So that's actually really helpful. And talking about our listeners, we now have the listener segment. So I've got a few questions actually that have come from when I reached out to our listeners to see what they would like me to ask you.
Amazing.
So the first one, when accidents initially happen, there are a lot of people to rally around and help. But over time, your new state of being becomes the norm. How did you handle the transition from before, then the accident, and then having, a village of people rallying around you, and then after that when things settled into the new normal routine?
Woo.
That's a big one.
Wow, what a question.
That is a big
That
question.
is so insightful and powerful. Thank you for the question. So, this is something I've thought about a lot, and it did happen. So before the accident happened, I had friends, I had, a good social life.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the accident happened, a lot of people rallied around, but slowly, because it's a long-term thing. Like I was in the hospital for 8 months nearly.
Mm.
And then it took another matter of years for me to claw back at life. And during that time, a lot of people fell away. So it was like shaking a tree. And at the end, only a handful remained. So that was hard. And it was also hard to watch my friends and people that I knew get on with their lives. And I was 25 when this happened. So people were getting married, people was buying houses, their careers were happening. I guess that's the thing, right? People have their own lives and the world keeps revolving no matter what happens. But it was hard for me to watch. And having people walk away, like my mum and dad split up, and I haven't seen my dad for many, many years. And we lost people along the process. But I think it taught me two things. One is that you learn to cherish the people that stick by you. And that there are people that have come into my life after the accident. They've never seen me walk, which is pretty wild to think
That
about.
is wild. Hey? Yeah.
So I've learned to cherish those people that have come there, and I try to do that for others now. So I've learned that people really matter, and especially the people that have been there for you. And the second thing is, it's also taught me that initially I was really holding on to this idea of so those actual very things I talked about, like the marriage, the career, the house, the mortgage, all that stuff. And I was like, oh man, I'm missing out on all that. But then, what I realized is, I was like, oh gosh, it's actually a good thing, because life shouldn't be that linear and formulaic.
That's it, right?
Yeah. And it took me a long time to realize, wow, and to become free of that. Eventually, I just feel like I appreciate life a lot more now, and I think about life very differently now. And those things that I thought were important aren't important to me at all anymore. So it's made me think differently about life as well. So it was a hard transition, but I think it ripped me out of the world and it put me into my own path.
It sounds like it's done something very magical for you, for sure. What practices does he have in place to ensure his wellness on all levels?
Ooh.
You're being tested today.
Gratitude is number one.
Yeah.
So every morning I think about a few things that I'm grateful for. Just a few, like I'm grateful for my mom, grateful for having a house, a job, educate, whatever it might be. And I am grateful for things through the day as well. And it's also about finding joy in the little things. Like, I get excited about the smallest thing, like, if it's a blue sky like today, or just some food I might taste.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I can relate.
So my ex-girlfriend says, I've never seen anyone get so excited about like tasting something.
Yum.
Yeah.
Food's my love language.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yes. Yeah, so I think finding joy in the little things is really important. I like to simplify life, so I don't like to have much stuff. So I have like 4 t-shirts and 1 watch, and
That's amazing.
so I like to just minimalize things. So another book is Stuffication.
Stuffication.
Yeah,
That's a great title.
It just talks about how we accumulate so much stuff and
Yeah.
things, and so I like to just simplify life as much as possible.
Yeah.
No clutter, no excess stuff, just things that I get joy out of and that
I was going to say
use.
spark joy, like a
Yeah.
bit of Marie Kondo
Yeah, exactly.
style.
Love
This
it.
does not spark joy. Goodbye.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is just purpose. You know, having purpose in the things I do really energizes me. So, you know, I just love being a doctor. I love medicine. I love people, and I love the practice of it. So, you know, work is never work. So, those are a few of the things.
I love that they're not material things. Like, I love that they're, things that you are in control of that aren't part of, I guess, the outside world. Yeah. By the sounds of it, they all have a common thread. Yeah. Your diverse interests in medicine, law, and advocacy are truly remarkable. Can you share how each of these fields has influenced your career path, and how do they work together to drive meaningful change in the healthcare system?
Ooh.
I've got some great listener questions.
I know. Yeah. It's a deep audience.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So, you know, I initially studied law, and then I went to medical school after that. And I wasn't passionate about law when I first started, but it's actually one of the best set of skills that I've ever got, because the world is built around the law, right? In everything that we do. So it's been really helpful for me when we navigate things in medicine, like human rights and healthcare and all those kind of things. It's built around the law and advocate. Like I never really understood what life was like for a person with a spinal cord injury until I had my own.
That's it.
But you know, now I feel like I've got to a place where I've been gifted a set of skills and a voice that can hopefully make a difference for others, because there are kids, there are all these kind of people that I hope will have a better future. And I just want to play at least a small part in leaving this world better for them in some way.
I think you definitely will. You seem really, really, really passionate about the topic. And yeah, like I said earlier, I don't think there's a better person to talk about it. So
thank you.
No worries.
But I think, you know, I think we can learn something from everyone, and we can learn something. Like, there's always something to learn. And, I also had a little side career when I was rehabilitating from the spinal cord injury in advertising. And the skills that I learned, like, you might think it's totally unrelated, but actually it taught me how to communicate and how to pitch something and how to...
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it taught me a lot, and that actually been helpful in medicine and advocacy. So I think we've had so many people that were just like Renaissance people.
Yeah.
That had such a wide variety of skills.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we need to get back to a world where we actually don't just become hyper specialized in one thing.
Definitely.
But we learn a variety of different things.
I feel passionately about that for sure. And just to add a bit to that, when, like, before I moved into the global communications space now at this office, I was the culture division leader within the Australian entity. And I really believed that it's important to diversify where you get your information from. And so I thought it was really cool to sign up to masterclasses, so all different people from different fields, and you can really have those transferable skills to make you a better person in that space. So yeah,
Totally.
for sure, yeah. And hopefully it will, pick up that way that, obviously there is a space for specialization. I think it's really important to have people who are highly, highly, highly skilled, but then also maybe even just as, self-interest or a hobby to keep yourself nimble in other areas. Yeah. Embracing change is essential for personal and professional growth. Can you share some pivotal moments in your journey where you overcame obstacles that shaped your approach to both medicine and advocacy? I said advocacy before, but then you said advocacy and I was like, oh dear.
You know what? Now you got me thinking. I don't know how to actually pronounce it properly.
It's only until you read it that you go, oh, the English language is...
It's one of those words.
Yeah. Advocacy.
It's like those words that you just read in a book and then one day someone actually says it and that, oh my God.
Have you watched How I Met Your Mother?
Bits and pieces.
He says he's never said chameleon, but then he says it and he says chameleon. So now whenever I say something, because my partner's like a walking Google. So whenever I ask him something or I say something, like, he knows a little bit about everything. And yeah, we call it the chameleon. Like if I say something wrong. So
the chameleon.
The chameleon.
I love it.
Yeah.
There have been probably 3 key challenges in life that have shaped where I am today. One is growing up in Sri Lanka through a war, through seeing all that hardship and then moving to a new country. So that was a huge change, coming from a country like Sri Lanka into a country like Australia and seeing all the things that we saw there, like death and violence and all that. So that was change in a huge way when I was a kid, when I was 10. We also moved around a lot. I've been to nearly 10 schools, I think. So moving around all the time and meeting new people, that was always change. So I learned that, I suppose it's taught me to be adaptable. I guess it's taught me to be nimble. I think it's taught me that the only constant in this world is change, actually.
It's so true.
Then the second thing was depression. When I studied law, I had quite severe depression and anxiety disorder. And I think the thing that taught me is to get to the core of myself, because a part of that depression was just focusing on nonsense that didn't really matter. I became quite materialistic before it happened, and I think I was just focusing on all this other stuff that wasn't the core of what was important to me. So that's how I found my purpose, actually, going through depression. There's this beautiful poem which applies to that and other events in my life, where it says, "My barn having burnt down, I can finally see the moon." So I had to get back to the core of myself to see the moon and see what was important to me. So depression was another one. And that helped me find purpose. And because I started to see a doctor when I had depression, and the doctor inspired me to be a doctor. So that's
really special.
Yeah. Then, of course, the spinal cord injury just tore apart my life and really burnt the barn down. And then I had to start life again. And it's made me who I am, and it taught me a lot of different things. So the 3 things, I suppose, is learning that the only constant is change in this world, and being adaptable to that change and not holding on to one thing, because nothing is ever constant, right? And one of the other things is Sri Lanka had a Buddhist majority for a period of time. And one of the tenets of Buddhism is that you believe in the impermanence of things. So yeah, change is the only constant, and embrace that and understand that. And that's been helpful as a philosophy. Second is finding purpose and doing things that are purposeful to us. And that's important, right? If we're talking about advocacy,
I might have to check
lost.
that
Yeah.
out. I'm sure our listeners know what we mean. Yeah.
But it has to be something that's purposeful and that's going to create change. And we've actually seen this in the world too, haven't we, over history? Like With women's suffrage and Black Lives Matter. And
Yeah. There's
we're
been
seeing
a few,
all this
for
change
sure,
in
for
this
sure.
world. So change is the only constant. And then if we find purposeful change in things that matter to us, then we can drive that. And
Then there's real fire, for sure.
And then the third is going through the spinal cord injury and hardship and bringing something out of that hardship. Hardship is great if you can embrace it. You cannot make a sword until you beat steel in a fire. So
that's a great metaphor.
Yeah, some of these things are hard, but it's worthwhile.
Love that. So at Luxus, one of our core values is we speak POFL. So I'll explain a little bit what that means. So positive outcome focused language, that's our native tongue. We see issues and problems as opportunities to improve. Our work is centered around key objectives that will enable us to achieve our goals. We feel empowered by empowering others. So the question in that is, does something like this play an important role in your responsibilities at Griffith University at the moment?
Yeah. Yes. So everything that happened for me has been an opportunity. So we have a spinal cord injury research lab, which is where I came from this morning. And we're developing therapies for spinal cord injury. That has happened as an opportunity as a result of me having this accident. So that's been amazing. And so, I've come to embrace the things that have come to pass as opportunities. And it continues to be important to me to see not problems. There are no problems. There are opportunities or challenges, which are good. I love what you said about empowering people, because once upon a time, I was a very inward-looking person, and I was thinking about what I can take from this world to fill my cup.
Sure.
But we are infinite beings inside, and if we try to do that, we will never be fulfilled. We'll never be happy.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. So, but happiness comes from what we can leave for this community, what we can do better for this world, and most importantly, empowering others. They say that leadership is about sending the elevator back down for others. It's about, people, and people have taken risks for me. So people have put their careers on the line, people have put their reputations on the line to fight for me, to get me back into medical school, to get me into a job, and they've been a part of who I am today, including my mom. She's made so many sacrifices.
Your mum is amazing.
She is amazing. And there is, I had the opportunity to give something to the National Museum of Australia a couple of years ago. And what I gave them was a scrub top, because, and it's got Dr. Dinesh Palipana written on it, because it's something that's so meaningful to me. But it's been signed by all the people that played a part in my journey. And I think that's really meaningful, because they empowered me. They made me who I am today. And it reminds me that we are so deeply connected, and we are a product of each other's influence on our lives. And we need to make that a positive one.
Absolutely. Rather than that us versus them mentality that media and, society out there tries to perpetuate. And that's what we're trying to have the stronger conversation here, right? At One Grate Conversation. That's why we pick the guests that we do, to show that we are more connected than we realize. Doesn't matter where we come from. Yeah. So what's next on the horizon for you?
Oh, well.
If you're allowed to say.
Yeah. Well, the spinal cord injury research is really exciting. So hopefully we will make strides where we can help people to stand again, to maybe walk again.
Amazing.
So that is really exciting. And that's the big, big dream. I love working as a doctor. So I just want to keep doing that and keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's something so close to my heart, and I just want to keep doing that. And I want to learn to fly. I started flying a plane last year. So I want to learn to fly. There's all sorts.
So cool. Yeah.
I want to go into space as well one day.
I'll be here watching you in space for sure.
But life is so unpredictable. It's so and there's so much to do and to try and to see so I just want to squeeze every drop out of it. I don't know what some of those things are yet.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I can feel the passion for life oozing out of you as we speak here. So I love to see it. I love to see that, and I hope it inspires more people to be hungry like that as well.
Thank you.
To close off the episode, what's one thing you would like all of our listeners to remember about your feature today? Something that you would like them to walk away with?
Well, it's actually not about me at all. It's I'm just grateful that you took the time to listen, because I often pinch myself at where life has come, and I am so grateful that you chose to have this conversation with me and that someone's listening.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't know, I never grew up thinking that. So at the moment, there's the Brisbane Portrait Prize. And there were 2 artists this year that painted me, and both of them are finalists in it. And these 2 paintings are hanging up at the Powerhouse in Brisbane. And I just think, like, I never grew up thinking that anyone would ever want to paint me. And I never grew up thinking that anyone would ever want to talk to me on a podcast or listen to what I have to say. And I still pinch myself, and I'm just grateful for all that. So if there's one thing that I would hope that you take away, is that I am just full of gratitude for you.
Thank you so much for once again coming on, for your time, for imparting so much wisdom and experience, and just being so generous with, sharing your gratitude. And I think, and I know listeners will get so much from it, just like I have today. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dinesh.
It's been awesome to chat.
Has been. And thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of One Grate Conversation, brought to you by Lux's Grates. We hope you gained some valuable insights that you can implement into your personal and professional life. Please share this episode with others who you think may be interested in this topic. If there's something you'd like covered in future episodes, drop us a line in the comment section or send us a message on social media. To stay up to date with new episodes and to help support One Grate Conversation, please subscribe or follow us on your favourite streaming platform.